Hey everyone, old school Pokemon here. I'm back again with podcast episode number 20, joined by my usual co-host, Catch 'em All Collectibles, Dan. How are we doing tonight, Dan?
Doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. You guys probably can't tell us apart tonight because we both look the exact same. We didn't do that on purpose, but it was just a happy coincidence.
Big episode 20. That's a big number.
That is a big number, actually. I think we finally beat what was the podcast called with Squeaks and Pokemon Radar? Collectible Conversations. I think that was it. Yeah. Yep. I think they had 19 episodes. So we officially passed them, which is awesome. Super happy about that. Although I do wish they had kept going with that podcast, because I really did enjoy that.
That was some quality content. Yeah.
We might have another podcast to compete with here pretty soon. Pokemon Radar and Cool Trainer Ryan might be doing something, which that would be interesting right there. I'd be excited to give that one a listen.
Yeah, I saw that on Radar's Instagram.
So we'll go ahead and hop right into the questions from last week's episode. If you guys have any questions for next week's episode, or 2 weeks from now, for the next episode, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, and we'll try and answer them in the next episode. But for this week, first question that I have comes from Andrew M. He asks, what's your favorite Galar region Pokemon and why? So this was a tough one for me. I don't really follow Pokemon. Like I follow modern Pokemon, obviously, but in terms of like the Pokedex numbers with the new Pokemon, I don't really follow them. Once you get outside, I know everything up through Gen 2. Gen 3 I know a little bit of, but once you get outside of Gen 3, going into Gen 4, 5, 6, all the way up to current, really don't follow any of the new Pokemon. But me and Dan were talking beforehand, and we were talking about some of the starters in the Galar region. So I guess for this answer, or for this question, my answer would be Scorbunny, just because he looks awfully cute. So not the best answer there, but that's what I would have to go with for that one. How about yourself there?
Yeah, so I bought but didn't play the last few generations of games. Someday I'd like to. So I just don't have a major connection with any of them. That was my main thing growing up. I had a much deeper connection to the games than the cards or the show. But I have seen some of the new episodes. My son, he's getting into Pokemon. He has different phases with dinosaurs and then Pokemon and then whatever other shows are on TV, on Netflix. So watching some of the anime, he really likes Scorbunny, and he when he evolves into Raboot, he gets a bit weird for a few episodes there. But yeah, I like Scorbunny too. My son's a big fan, so I'm that's my main why, I guess. The connection with my son and Scorbunny through watching the show.
Well, that's a better reason than me, I guess.
and because Nick likes him.
There we go.
So my first question comes from Pokey Martin. What's your guys' take on when you crack slabs for cross grading versus when to send the slab in for crossing over? Thanks. So the only time I've ever sent cards in the slab to cross grade is when I was going from PSA to BGS. Years ago, I actually bought a complete PSA 9 first edition base set from Gary. And the Blastoise and the Charizard specifically, obviously the more valuable ones, they were very, very clean. Not PSA 10 clean, but I took a shot at BGS 9.5. I hit it with the Charizard. Those days when Charizard was I want to say it was a $4,000 or $5,000 PSA 9. It was way too much money to consider cracking the case. I was way too scared to do that. So that's why I sent it in case. These days, that number, it's still a big number, but it's just crazy how far we've come on that front. So yeah, I guess I'd just say do it in slab when the money's too big to risk it. But in general, like I've cracked a lot of reasonably expensive cards because I've mentioned this on the forum. I've probably mentioned this in a previous podcast too. Cross grading in slab makes no sense to me. It makes a little bit of sense when you're going from company to company because, okay, that was a PSA 9. BGS had never looked at it. But when you're looking at a card through the case, you just don't see what you can see when it's raw. The cases obscure things, and sending it in case to the same company is the most ridiculous thing if you really think about it. So I've heard of people sending in 20 PSA 9s and then a handful of them upgrade to PSA 10s. Imagine being that grader who has I mean, how much do they think of their expertise when obscured by a slab, they're able to override the past judgment of theoretically two previous graders. So this 2 people graded this a 9 when they saw it raw. I'm looking at it through plastic, and my opinion's so valuable that I'm going to override their decision and call this a 10. Makes no sense whatsoever to me. They're not getting as good of a look. The fact that the card was a 9, the only information they know is that someone else previously deemed that card to be a 9. So how do you override that decision through the plastic? I think I've ranted long enough, so let's go with your take, Nick.
Yeah, no, I think you covered that one pretty good. I would completely agree with that. I don't like what you said. I don't see a point in crossing over with the same company, sending a PSA 9 into PSA hoping for a 10. I'm sure there are cases of that happening, but you really don't hear them very often of people actually getting their cards upgraded to a better grade with the crossover services. And I think it's for exactly what you said. The only time that I've done it is, again, like what you said, when I took a BGS card and sent it into CGC. I did that because, one, I really don't like BGS. And then two, BGS cases are really hard to crack. So I was nervous about actually cracking the card myself, and I didn't want to take that risk. So I just sent the cards into CGC, but at the same time, I really didn't care what the grade came back as with CGC. So for example, I sent in a BGS 9, no damage 9 tails, which came back in 8.5 because I sent it over with no minimum grade. And I was completely happy with that. And then I'm going to be submitting a BGS 7 no damage 9 tails into CGC. Again, no minimum grade, just a crossover, and have them take the risk of actually taking the card out of the case. So that's the only time that I would recommend it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I've actually never cracked a BGS slab, I don't believe. I've never really owned too many.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never done one either, but their cases seem pretty bulletproof.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty tough right there. So my next question comes from Neusser P. He asks, since Pokemon is slowing down, what other catalyst do you guys believe will happen or will be required to help boost up Pokemon again? Thanks. So I don't want to make this sound like I'm singling you out here with my response, but people ask this on Facebook all the time. The market is crashing. What do we need to bring the market back up again? anyone who thought that 2020, the whole 2020 mania was sustainable, they were taking crazy pills. 2020 was not sustainable whatsoever. It was an exciting time if you were selling cards, which unfortunately I missed out on most of 2020. But if you were selling cards, it was a really exciting time. If you had cards in your collection, it was really cool seeing all those cards go up. But as far as sustainability, it was not sustainable whatsoever, and it was a very stressful time because you really didn't know what pricing where it was day to day, week to week. So it was inevitable that the market was going to crash like it is right now. It was just a matter of time, and I think we're towards the bottom on the majority of stuff. I do think some stuff still has a ways to go down, but I think overall it's kind of settling out at this point. And I think from now on it's gonna kind of get back to normal, how it was pre 2020, where we see this slow incremental growth. I'd much rather that than experience another 2020 event. I personally don't think that we're going to see anything like that happen again. I know never say never, but I'd be really surprised if we ever saw that happen again. I think 2020 was the perfect storm of events that happened, and I don't think we'd ever have that exact same combination of events to make pricing increase like that again. But I would just be happy with the way things are right now. It does suck if you purchased cards in the hype for your own collection or for an investment, and now those cards are worth a fraction of what they were. But the market that we're in right now is a lot more sustainable for the long term, and I think it's healthier now than it was in 2020. So that's what I would say on that one.
Yeah, you hit a lot of the buzzwords and stuff that I was going to use. The perfect storm. 2020 really was, I guess, black swan event. You had Logan Paul hitting during a pandemic where PSA was shut down. And so you had a very temporary scarcity or availability of the slabs that everyone was craving so much. All that government money pumping in, stimmy checks, as Swami likes to say. Timmys with their stimmies. So I think, kind of in agreement with Nick, I really don't want there to be another huge crazy catalyst to just make everything go absurd again. I guess it would be good for my bank account in a lot of ways, but it was a wild ride. Too wild, I think. I think returning back to a more sane, stable, predictable, just slow growing hobby will be nice. What could the catalyst be though? No idea. Pokemon Go was a big thing, right? That was kind of like for that summer that it hit, it was like a sensation. It was everywhere. There was like politicians playing it. There was all celebrities playing it, and it was all over the internet. Maybe some new VR game 5-10 years from now, some further level. No idea, but hopefully not anytime soon. Hopefully we just get a slow moving, slow growing, but healthy market to climb back out of this crash or recession or whatever you want to call it. Correction.
I have a good hypothetical for you. So a lot of people are saying, so to give some context to this first, Logan Paul has a new video that we're going to be expecting at some point in the future. We've talked about this, me and you have talked about this a little bit. I know I'm pretty firm on believing that this new video is going to be a video where he purchases a portion of Scott's trophy Pikachu cards. So a lot of people are saying, or at least a few people are saying that when Logan Paul releases that video, assuming that it is a trophy card related purchase, the price of trophy cards is going to skyrocket because of awareness going into the market and all this stuff. Do you think if this whole scenario is true, do you think that will have much of effect on the trophy card market?
Not drastically. It's tough because he has a huge reach. Clearly, the amount of viewers that he pulled on that first box break were just massive, hundreds of thousands of concurrent viewers. But that hit people's nostalgia. That was the Charizard that everyone grew up with. That was the first edition base that everyone wanted to have, but almost no one did. It was like a myth back then. Everyone was familiar with the first edition Machamp, but to see actual first edition cards. So pandemic, hitting that nostalgia, again, a perfect storm of events catapulted that first box break into the stratosphere. The second one didn't revisit that at all. Trophies is a new angle, but it's just not going to touch on that nostalgia. I know that the original trophy Pikachus, and if he's buying the half arts or full arts, or I didn't know about those in my childhood. Obviously, the newer ones didn't exist, but I didn't really know about the Illustrator or the original 97, 98 Pikas. And then say some people, I mean, I'm sure it'll get a lot of views. I'm sure it will do well, but just those things are so far out of reach for 99% of the avid collectors, let alone, I mean, 99.9999% of the general population. So it's just an extremely niche thing. Will it have a positive effect on prices? I kind of want to get my set of Pikachus up on eBay just in case Aoki feels like putting a set together, or some other person sees that video and then decides to click buy it now for $1 million or something crazy. But I just don't see, I don't think that's going to be the catalyst for any broad market things. If anything, it might pop up some trophies a little bit here or there, but as we've seen, the pricing on those is so variable anyways. I mean, we had that one several months ago, PSA 9 number 2 half art go for 110,000 at PWCC. And then an 8 and a 9 at Heritage and PWCC recently went for 50 and 60,000 ish. So yeah, those are just, it's tough. What do you think on the effect of that video?
Well, I was hoping you'd have the opposite reaction, because I feel the same way. I was gonna say the exact same points. I think there's a big difference in between first edition base and the sets that we grew up with as kids versus the trophy card market, where 99% of us aren't going to be able to afford those types of trophy cards. And I think the people who can afford trophy cards and get into that market, they either already know about those cards, or they can easily talk to people who know about those cards. So I don't think it's going to have much, if any, type of effect, like some people are saying. But it will be really interesting to see whatever that video is. Again, we don't know what it is, but that's what I think, and I've thought that for a while, pretty much since I originally saw Scott's Patreon video. But it'll be interesting to see for sure.
And I guess just to go a little bit further on it before we wrap it up, when everything was blowing up in early WotC, it was something, again, that everyone had in their closet from their childhood, or at least memories of, that they could relate to. And then like the base unlimited Charizard, that was selling every day, successive sales, up and up and up, higher and higher prices. So it was like a very visible thing that people were a part of and could feel immediately. If these trophies start selling for any higher, a lot of them are going to be private deals. It's not like there's thousands and thousands of those out there. to just sell publicly through eBay week after week to really get that trend on the upswing and get everyone hyped and really kind of do the whole bubble thing. There's just not enough of them out there, and they're not going to transact on eBay in the same way week after week. So that amount of buildup and hype and excitement just in general can't happen by the nature of how scarce and few trophy cards are to begin with.
That's another good point. Yeah.
Maybe a batch of them could go to Heritage and they could just blow everything out of the water and go. I mean, I could be wrong there, because maybe someone consigns with Heritage and they blow up, and then somebody consigns 2 months later with Golden. But again, that'll be months apart, and it just won't build the same hype, I don't think.
Yeah.
And that's said by somebody who has a full art Trophy Pikachu set of the modern ones. So, I mean, I would like for them to just 10x and then I'll sell them and I'm set for life. But I don't see it happening.
No, glad we're on the same page there.
So next question comes from Mike Z. With all the new grading companies, I personally don't think any of them started in hopes of running with the big dogs. I think they started in hopes to get bought out by PSA. Thoughts on this and or impact PSA would have if they started to buy out smaller companies? Or if you believe PSA will not buy them and try to let them die out? So I think most of these basement grading companies, whatever you want to call them, they definitely started because of the situation PSA put themselves into. I guess they could have, if PSA had properly ramped up their cost to not allow the backlog to build so massively, they still would have popped up just at the lower tier prices. So I guess I was a bit unfair when I said that, when I started out against PSA that way, because but yeah, I don't know that any of them are doing anything special enough for PSA to have any thought of buying them. I've not looked into too many of them too deeply. I had mentioned months ago I was going to send some submissions to some of them. I just haven't found the time, and I think PSA and CGC are just filling all my needs right now, especially with the thousands of cards I still have in their backlogs. But I could see a handful of them maybe surviving on some novelty factor, as long as they lower their prices as PSA does to stay at half price or less or something. If PSA gets back to 20, they need to stay 10 or under. With the flashy labels, with personalization, some people really like that stuff. I'm not too crazy about it, but potentially, I haven't looked too closely, but I actually talked to the guy, one of the guys, that robo grading. I've been meaning to watch some of their videos a bit more. I think they've put out some videos recently on the AI, the camera robotic grading they have going on. Maybe they're actually doing something innovative enough, legitimate enough. Maybe they've got some tech or some software that PSA could just write a check, gobble it up and integrate it somehow, or gobble it up and throw it in the bin so nobody uses it. I have no idea though. But as far as most of them that are just doing nothing new at all, just different people grading in cheaper, unrecognizable slabs, PSA isn't going to care. They're just naturally going to fall to the wayside as PSA, CGC, and BGS open back up.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said.
We agree too much.
More controversial questions that we completely disagree on.
Viewers, 2 weeks from now, we want some questions to come in where blood will be shed. We want, for the holidays, we want to butt heads on some of these. We agree too much.
That's AGS, the one who's doing the scanning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
AGS, robo grading.
Yeah. I think their ultimate, I don't know. I haven't talked to them. I've talked to them a little bit, but I don't know the company enough, and I don't know the guys running the company enough, but I think their ultimate play is to be bought out by PSA, CGC, BGS. I don't think they really do want to start their own grading company and run with it forever. I think they want to start the grading company and then gain the traction and then gain the attention of one of the bigger grading companies to be bought out by them. I personally think that's their play. But as far as all of the other grading companies that are out there, I think they're going to quickly die out. There was a demand for them, and there still is a decent demand for them right now, where PSA, CGC, BGS are so backed up. But once the big three grading companies clear through their backlog and kind of get back to normal, whatever the new normal is, I think those companies are going to die out, or they're going to have to drastically reduce their pricing, where they're, I'd say, like 50%. So like if PSA reopens their bulk tier, whenever they do, at $20 a card, these fly by night companies are going to have to be at $5 to $10 a card. They can't be at the same pricing as one of the big three companies, or I don't think anyone would submit to them. So I think for the most part, they're all going to die out, like what you were saying, Dan.
And the issue is, without the scale of the big dogs, they're not able to do things as cost effectively. They're not buying empty slabs by the millions. I mean, PSA literally $1 million a month almost now. And if you're trying to buy plastic 1,000 a month, you're paying 10 times as much probably.
Yep.
Same thing goes for all of it. They're just not going to be able to compete. They're going to have to be 50% price to get the demand, but they're just not going to be able to have any margin likely at those numbers.
Yeah,
in my
exactly.
opinion.
So my next question is from Celebi Collectibles. He asks, you get $10,000 right now for free, and will have to spend it all within the Pokemon hobby this week. The money has to be used with the intention to do well long term, but doesn't have to be a boring, sure thing. What do you do with it? Invest, buy cards to flip, or simply pay for grading fees for cards you own and want to send off for grading? That's an interesting hypothetical. So for me, I think I would probably go with the flipping route. Just because there's nothing that I really want to buy to hold long term right now. Everything that I want to buy to hold long term right now, I've gotten. So there isn't anything that like jumps out at me to buy and hold for long term that would do well. But there are a lot of collection opportunities out there right now. There's a lot of people on eBay and Facebook who are just trying to offload their collection because the market's crashing, everything's going down to zero, and I think there's a lot of opportunity within that right now. So that's what I would do with it, is just go ahead and look on eBay, look on Facebook, offer on collections that I want to purchase for resale, and then use that money to buy more collections and so on and so forth. So that's what I would do with it. There's a lot of people right now selling like junk slabs in big lots on some of the Facebook groups that I've noticed. I would avoid those, and I would focus more so on like the WotC and EX era, kind of like loose binder collections. That's what I would do. What would you do with $10,000?
Yeah, for me, I think for both of us, it's not really too much of a hypothetical, because doing this as businesses, we're actively buying things, right? I mean, I just had a heritage purchase from 6 weeks ago, finally shipped today.
Finally.
So I bought like base set Shadowless first edition collections, CGC graded, PSA graded, just large, ill-advised listings that shouldn't have been sold all as one. I bought them to break apart and flip. I don't see anything right now attractive enough to just lock up $10,000 as an investment. So I'd rather buy a lot for 10,000 that I can turn into 12 to 15,000 in the next few months, doing a little bit of churning and then continue that on. There's a lot of opportunity. Definitely on the grading fees part. I have enough in the backlogs at sub $10 a card. I am not like too excited about sending in new ones. I'm going to be sending a small batch probably soon at $100 a card, very small batch. But grading fees right now, historical all-time highs, a little bit lower than they just were a week ago with that new tier being opened, but they're only going to come down over time. So I'm being patient on the grading front. Just a few things to grade for kind of immediate short-term flips. So yeah, $10,000 collection flips for sure.
Yet another one.
Total agreement.
Both agree.
See, if he didn't specify Pokemon,
Oh, then we would disagree.
I could have gotten a bit more exotic with my answer. Do you wanna, we can just talk about it, right?
Oh, we can go there. I know exactly what you're gonna say.
I've been putting money into MetaZoo lately. It's risky. It's not an investment. It's gambling to an extent, but I like the odds of it. I actually recently got into some of the MetaZoo NFTs, which are very speculative, but the thing that I like NFTs, I've commented publicly. We've probably talked about it on this podcast over the 20 episodes. I'm not a huge fan. Pictures of monkeys or zombies or whatever, 10,000 randomly generated, going for thousands or millions or however many dollars. Not a big fan. Literally just a picture that you need someone to buy from you for more later. The thing I like with the MetaZoo NFTs, I see Mike Waddell as quite a bit like Rudy from Alpha Investments. I think they're both kind of like a meme type person. They like just doing things for the hell of it. And like Rudy did the promo card with Fab, Flesh and Blood. Anyone who spent $1,000 on that promo card, they get discounted Flesh and Blood for all future releases now. And he did that MetaZoo thing where you could buy extra kits, but the price went up 50% each. And then it just so happened that anyone that bought 5 kits, they got a free Kickstarter booster box that paid for their whole gamble, basically. I think Mike has a lot of plans. He's mentioned in the Discord that he has a lot of plans of actual real world utility for these NFTs. And I just so happen to have some Ethereum kicking around that I mined years ago. And so I in a way, I put in probably $10,000 in what I could have sold the Ethereum for. But in my mind, it's Ethereum that I have almost nothing into that's worth around $10,000 that I just turned into MetaZoo NFTs. I guess getting a little bit into the utility, what I really like, I like physical cards a lot. The holder of every MetaZoo token in January, I believe, January or February. So if you own one of the tokens, you'll actually get a card, a physical card, serialized, numbered to match your token. So I own like a gold Mothman token that's 1 of 100. A 1 of 100 serialized gold Mothman. I just like the sounds of that. I like the thought of, I mean, that's the rarity tier of like the sample cards. It doesn't have the same historical significance. The sample cards were sampling the cards before they came out, pre-Kickstarter and all that. But yeah, just the thought of a 1 of 100 Mothman. I think that NFT cost me I feel crazy saying it, but I think it was 0.8 Ethereum, roughly. I bought that one just this morning, which works out to around $3,000. So huge risk. I'm not suggesting anyone go buy these, but to me, it feels like a gamble worth taking because you get the promo card, you get discounted access to product, you get special access to future NFTs, future physical product, and so I guess there's enough MetaZoo NFT shilling, which again I think we're completely at opposite ends of the spectrum on what we do unrestricted with $10,000.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah,
you'd stick in the realm of Pokemon.
I would definitely stick in the realm of Pokemon for sure. Yeah. I'm too nervous about MetaZoo. Um I'm doing one of each booster box and one of each Steam Deck, but that is it for me. I'm not diving any deeper into MetaZoo right now. It's too much of an unknown for me. It'll be, I think, the big the kind of turning point for MetaZoo will be Cryptid Nation, the second printing of Cryptid Nation. It'll be really interesting to see where that set goes. Being that it's going to be so much more available. There's websites or online stores now that still have are still taking pre-orders for the second edition of Cryptid Nation at MSRP. So this will kind of be the true test of whether or not are people actually like collecting MetaZoo, enjoying MetaZoo, playing MetaZoo, or is it strictly just kind of the investability aspect of MetaZoo? So I think this next release will be kind of the telltale sign of the future of MetaZoo. But and then as far as the NFTs go, when you first told me you were getting into the MetaZoo NFTs, I was pretty blown away because they were NFTs, and I know how you're not a big fan of NFTs, but the actual physical cards that go along with those, that is an interesting aspect. And as much as I don't like NFTs either, I do think those NFTs specifically have potential just because of the physical stuff that goes along with it. If it wasn't for the physical stuff, I don't think they would do nearly as well. But that's kind of my thoughts. And then we talked about this the other day, but with the 1 of 100 promos, the thing that concerns me about that, not to be all doom and gloom on you, but the thing that concerns me about that is how many different promo cards does MetaZoo have already? And then of all those promo cards, how many are that 1 of 100? And then how many of those 1 of 100 aren't even worth that however much you paid for the NFTs, $3,000 that the NFT cost you to get that promo card? I have no idea because I don't follow MetaZoo nearly as much as you do, but there's got to be a decent amount that are below that price range.
Yeah, and I'm not a complete expert on all of it. I know that for Cryptid Nation, there were the sample cards. Like I bought a sample Bigfoot. I don't fully, I understand that the Mothman hype exists, but I'm not into it personally. There wasn't a Bigfoot NFT. Otherwise, I would have rather had that than the Mothman, but there was Mothman, Jersey Devil, Manta Ray, a few different ones. But yeah, so 1 of 100, you've got Old Scratch and you've got Red Ink, which are pullable from the actual sets themselves. And I think those stand apart from the 1 of 100 sample cards. Aside from Mothman, I think Red Ink and Old Scratch go for substantially more than most sample cards because they've got a more, what's the right word? They've got a more accessible, even though the odds are really long that you're going to pull it, they've got a more dispersed and accessible release in that anyone that cracks the product can pull it. Whereas the sample ones, those were given out to creators and everything several months back. You've got guys like Rusty that had misplaced the 5 or so packs he had been given for several months. I mean, it's crazy to think about it. Some amount of the sample packs might have been tossed out, right? I mean, you opened a Kickstarter pack at one of the Collecticons and you don't know where the cards went from it.
They're in
So
the dump somewhere.
nowhere near the attrition of Magic, nowhere near that, but some amount of attrition, some small amount of attrition actually happened, which is hard to believe with some of these cards. But yeah, that is a very valid concern and something that's been on my mind. 1 out of 100, aside from the sample cards, I can't think of too many other cards, but like 1 out of 1,000, they've got Uncle Sam grilling hot dogs for the 4th of July. They got Santa Claus for first edition Christmas last year. They got all the Halloween ones that were like 500, I believe, Wendigo. And yeah, there's a lot of low print. It's almost like sports. Every year there's just dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of more serialized low print, which is concerning. But I guess to be a little bit responsible and to contextualize my gamble in the MetaZoo NFT space, it's the end of the year. So I'm like going through my finances. I'm intending to fully fund my real investments, 401ks, IRAs, all the big adult responsible things. So making this gamble of approximately $10,000 in MetaZoo NFTs with Ethereum that I probably paid $200 for 5 years ago. Keep the context that I'm like spending a lot more money in Pokemon. I'm spending a lot more money in real stocks and bonds and real estate to some extent. And so again, don't take what I'm talking about MetaZoo NFTs to go out and YOLO your life savings on them. Not remotely advocating for that. It is a very, very risky thing. But in my mind, I'm taking a calculated risk with money I can afford to lose. It's fun.
It could very well pay off big time for you.
Yeah, I mean, same thing goes. It's gone well so far, but it could turn at any point. I gambled. I've done videos on my channel talking about the Kickstarter boxes that I bought. I bought a few Kickstarter boxes for around $1,800 to $2,500, and I actually was watching earlier Pokemon Radar. John, he broke one on Whatnot. They're going for around $10,000 now. So in a way, I'm like playing with a little bit of house money from my good gamble on the Kickstarter boxes. So yeah, figured we'd spice up mid podcast with a little bit of different takes between Nick and I, and talking about. I intend to do a video at some point, but my MetaZoo videos haven't been doing well. Bury it in the middle of a podcast. Hopefully, we'll have to look at our analytics. It'll say right here. This is where you tank. Then you click on it, and I'm talking about Gold Mothman NFTs.
Oh man.
So there's that. You got more than you asked for, Celebi.
That was a good one. I liked that one. Good question there, Celebi.
So Shiny Light Bulb 1000, one of my recent giveaway winners. Just a shout out our giveaway. Check out our Instagrams, subscribe to our YouTubes, look for those weekly videos. Every new subscriber this month, $1 to Nami. Shouting that out mid podcast too. So
we'll be starting some good giveaways starting Sunday is when the real exciting stuff starts.
Yeah, we're gonna ramp it up hard for the final week. Finish strong. So what are both your thoughts on jumbo cards? I think they look really cool when PSA graded. I really like the first partner pack Gen 1 starters, and they seem like a good value. They look a bit silly, but I think that is part of the appeal for me, and they are easier to display because of their size. The downside is it feels weird to spend $100 to grade a jumbo. So years ago, I wish I had graded a lot more, but I graded maybe 30 to 50. A lot of the red blue collection. You remember that? XY 121, I think, was the Charizard.
Yeah.
Red blue collection. Pretty cool full art Charizard. There was the Blastoise, Venusaur, and Pikachu as well. think it was XY 121 through 124 to test my memory. But
I could not tell you.
I graded 5 to 10 each of those, I think. Maybe not quite them, a few each, and then some other Charizards, and I really like them also. I meant to grab one to show quick. I think I only have one left. It's like a PSA 6. They're really hard to grade because think about it. I mean, you've got the old school ones, at least. You've got so much more surface area of card, and they treat it the same way. If there's one indent, one crease, one issue anywhere in all that added surface area, they go down to a 6. So I graded a handful of 10s, but I graded a handful of 6s as well. It is just really cool. Like I like the pack cases, the new ones, due to their size. They just have some heft. They just feel like a solid hunk of collectible. And the jumbo ones are really big, really cool. I don't mind the new size. The new jumbo size is a bit smaller. It's just a bit annoying that they had that transition in size. It would have been cool if they always had one size, but they do have those. I thought I had one here, but I guess I don't. They do have that new binder, that the Pikachu binder that came out to house those 25 jumbos, all the starters, and then Pikachu. That's a really cool collectible, I think. I'm a fan of them generally. I don't see myself grading too many more down the line if they don't bring the price down from 100. I know obviously right now there's nothing you can grade cheaper than 100, but years ago you couldn't grade them under the regular cards. Like box toppers you could, from the E-Series box toppers. You could actually, even though they were bigger, you could grade those for the same fee as a card. I graded some last year on the 750 special, but the jumbos were different. I want to say the cheapest I ever spent to grade those was maybe 25 because they had a special. But as recently as a year ago, before PSA closed down, I think even then, like when PSA was grading normal cards for 10, I think jumbos were around 75 or 100, which is just really hard to spend, considering most of the jumbos are like $5 to $10, if not less. So yeah, I like them, but as far as grading goes, it's tough.
Yeah. I recently started getting into just like a fun binder collection, starting to collect all the newer jumbos, especially now that I hope so, like what you were saying, where the jumbo cards kind of started off as one size, and then they kept getting smaller and smaller. I hope they stay consistent with the new size now that they have a binder for the jumbo cards. They better keep the same size forever going on now.
I was right. It's XY 121.
Man, you got a good memory there.
The interesting thing about these two, if I'm remembering correctly, I think our domestic US boxes were figures. And then the regular size promo, I think these were the European only. I kind of remember reaching out to some European sellers and having to buy these from overseas.
I do remember that now that you say that.
Yeah, it's a really big case. I mean, it's big as my head.
No wonder they charge so much for it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It cost a fortune in plastic. Your nice PSA 6 jumbo card right there. But yeah, so I started doing like a binder collection of them. I like them for that. I don't think I would ever send any off to be graded or anything like that. And I really can't see it taking off too much in terms of like grading them and them being worth a lot for the most part, because there are a lot of those jumbos. They come out with every single collection box for the most part nowadays. So that there are a lot of them out there. But yeah, as like a side collection, as a binder collection, I do like jumbo cards, but I don't think I'll ever dive too deep in them, start grading them and all that stuff. Plus shipping them. I did start selling like single ones on eBay for a couple bucks. They sell consistently, but they're slow sellers, and they're pretty hard to package in a way where you're not spending a fortune to mail it out, but you're also protecting it well enough where it's not going to get damaged in shipping. So it's kind of tough there.
I know the old ones, I think it was 6x9. BCW makes a top loader. I think 6x9 is like a fairly standard photo size. As far as the new ones, I don't even know what size those are, or if there's an appropriate top loader for them. That would be ideal. Just send them in a top loader in a bubble envelope.
Well, the trouble is the modern ones. So like I'm selling them between $249 and $499 a piece on eBay. Ooh. So in order to make money on them, you need to send them with that standard envelope with tracking. So I bought some of those top loaders. I forget the size that I bought. But ones that it's ones that actually fit the top loader. It's got some room on the side. And then I would just put that top loader into like one of the big like plain white envelopes. And the people at the post office said that wouldn't work because it was too rigid. Mm-hmm. So it needs to be more flexible. So now I use eBay, like the eBay shipping supply store sells like one of those cardboard envelopes that fits the jumbo cards pretty perfectly. So I just put the jumbo card into that and mail it off like that, and they say that's good enough. But every once in a while I will get someone who reaches out and says the card got damaged in transit, so I have to refund them in those cases. But it's so far it's been working out pretty good. But yeah, that's the only issue with those is if you did ship first class mail, you wouldn't be making any money whatsoever on those.
I have a 5-card jumbo lot, just random cards on eBay for like $8 right now, I think, shipped. So I'm not making much on it. I'm just trying to build up some sales so that it gets a bit more visibility. But I sell most of mine through just Troll and Toad Evo, and some of them sell as little as $3. Some of them sell as high as 20. Some of the older ones, like that Charizard, is probably more than 20 as long as it's near mint. I'd be interested. I don't know how Troll and Toad is packing them. You'll have to buy one of my cheap ones off me, and then
there you go.
Do a video. You talk about my poor packaging. Do a video on Troll and Toad's poor packaging of my product.
There we go. I like it.
Oh, and just to air that out, we're talking about like wanting to get a little bit of conflict going. So Nick did that video. What he didn't show is the way that he shipped his business cards. I should have done an exposing video, but I had already opened them up, so I would have had to like repack it, and it wouldn't have been as I actually received them. No sleeves, no top loaders, packed into a team bag, same way I did. Tisk tisk.
I actually didn't even do the double bubble mailer like you did.
Yeah, I don't even remember, but it was like, I'm pretty sure it was worse than and look at this whitening. Look at the whitening on the back of this one. Thank you for your business. More like thanks for nothing. So it's not going to get a video response, but it's going to get like 1 hour into a podcast response to Nick's video attacking me and my shipping.
That was a good video. I thoroughly enjoyed making that video.
It was a good video. I just didn't have the energy to do a video to reply. And like I said, had I had it, if I knew it was coming, if I wasn't blindsided, I could have recorded myself opening off the bat too, but it had already been opened and the moment had already passed. I got that idea originally. I think it was podcast episode number 18.
when we talked about packaging.
No harm, no foul.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I thought about that after we ended the podcast that night, and I was trying to think of a way that I could order something from you that you wouldn't know it was me. Because if even like I've had someone order something from their eBay account and send it to my PO box, and it's me. So I couldn't think of a way to send something from you to me. So when we started this whole giveaway thing, and you suggested the business card idea, I was so happy about that.
I got you. You're in.
Yes, exactly. And then it was tough not telling you that I was going to do that video.
Stab me right in the back.
Oh man. Well, my last question here is from Mike Z. He asks, or he says, Nat suggesting a capability of 20 million cards a year sounds to me as more of a capability only. Just to say he can doesn't mean he will. I wouldn't be surprised if they are hiring casual employees rather than full-time employees, or some business model that has the same effect of being able to drop employees over time. So he just phrased that as more so just kind of like a interesting topic to discuss. There's not really a question there, but I would agree with that. I think I think out of the gate, so let's assume that they are going to reach a point where they start creating 20 million cards a year. I think if they do reach that point, they're going to be getting 20 million cards a year for the first couple of years. After that, I don't think there's going to be as much of a demand. So they're going to have to lay off people, or kind of like hire temporary employees, as just not like a full-time employee, just like a part-time employee. But I think for the next couple years, at least next 5-ish years, I don't think the graders at PSA or anyone who works at PSA has anything to worry about, because I think they'll be busy enough doing getting caught up with the backlog that they have going on now. Plus, whenever they do reopen their bulk tier, whenever that does come back, they're going to get absolutely flooded with cards again. So they'll have to rework through their backlog again. So I think for the next 5-ish years, they're going to be completely safe. But then going forward, they will have to figure out something about like part-time or temporary employees or something like that.
Yeah, I think the fact that they bought it out and then made it private makes kind of the cold-hearted business tactics like layoffs easier. You don't have to worry about a stock price. You don't have to worry about investors worrying about the stock price. So it's kind of a cruel business capitalist type thing, but I could see PSA scaling to 20 million cards a year for the couple years that the demand is there for it, and then the demand just prices will fall enough, generally speaking, that the demand for grading will go down. And the nice thing about scaling a business such as PSA, it's not extremely capital intensive. You can tell, like right now, if I wanted to, and a lot of people are doing it, I could go online, Alibaba or wherever, eBay probably, and buy a sonic welder and buy 5,000 cases and buy the label printer. Less than $10,000, I could start a grading company. And a lot of people have. So PSA is able to scale without too much like capital expenditure. And I know that people really make out grading to be so much more of an expert thing than it really is. The hardest part about grading is being unbiased. People are really bad at unbiased grading of their own cards. But as far as if you took, there are thousands of people in this hobby that have a keen enough eye to be able to review someone's card that could be a paid grader. A lot of them won't want to be, because they can make more money just using that good eye to run a business and grading certain things and utilizing the third party to help increase their bottom line for their business. But yeah, people just way overvalue that plastic, and the market's gonna like PSA is gonna overscale. I think there's gonna be too many slabs out there, more than people want. We talked about it last episode. I think it was my general pessimism. A lot of it focuses squarely around just this irrationality and overinflated prices on, and I'm not talking about the really good stuff. I'm not talking about the cards that there aren't just tons of them out there quantity wise, but when you take a raw mint card that's $5 and then it just magically becomes 50 because it's in a case that says 10 on it or 9 on it, it just doesn't make any sense. And a lot of those cards are going to get beat up really bad at 20 million a year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
But right now with a backlog, I mean, it's very telling. A backlog, I guess that was our last question. We can kind of roll this into the, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but PSA's opening the regular tier at $100 a card. It's already open, but it's throttled. So I can't just send 50,000 cards tomorrow at 100 a card. I can't because I don't have that many to send, but they wouldn't let me if I did.
Or that much money to pay for the submission.
Some businesses might have that many at 100 a card that they'd want to send, but it's being throttled. And I think it's fairly telling how big the demand still is that they have to throttle how much they're allowing in at $100 a card. So not mentioned in previous podcasts, 90% of their capacity, 40,000 cards a day, was being devoted to the backlog at $150 a card. Doing the simple math, 4,000 cards a day were coming in at $150 a card. Very recently on Instagram, as they opened up this $100 a card tier, Nat mentioned that, or Nat or PSA, whoever it was speaking on the behalf of PSA, 80% of the backlog is going to, or 80% of their capacity is going to be devoted to the backlog. So what they're forecasting, or what they're allowing, what they're throttling to, they're allowing another 4,000 cards a day to come in approximately at $100 a card. So if they didn't put the throttling, if they didn't put the cap in place, they'd probably get more than that. And then they'd have less than 80% of their capacity to service the backlog. So we are so far away still from $25 a card or $10 a card when they can't even fully unleash $100 a card without worrying what effect it may have on their ability to service the backlog. This is something that a video on my channel recently came out where it was like kind of like a live look into our Patreon Pokenomics. If PSA were to stop taking in new cards altogether at the pace that they're going, they wouldn't finish with the backlog until approximately like next October. But they are taking in new cards. So it's just how much are they going to scale? What new tiers at what prices are they going to open? What are they going to throttle them to? It's a multivariable equation that nobody can really fully forecast or figure out, but it's crazy. It's crazy where we're at right now still.
Yeah, it really is. I think this was a really smart move on PSA's part too, as much as it's kind of stinks to have that whole lottery system or whatever, where you can only send in a certain number of cards. I think it was probably the best move on PSA's part, and I think we're probably going to see that as they keep reopening lower and lower tiers. It'll be kind of throttled like that. And I do think right out of the gate there is going to be a decent demand even at $100 per card, but I think like over the next couple months, I would imagine that they'll probably get rid of that limit. I don't think that limit will stay forever. I think it's just to kind of gauge what the demand's going to be on this this tier right here. But I can't imagine that they'll keep that kind of limiting people for until they reopen the next tier. I don't. It'll be interesting, but I can't imagine that there's that much of a demand.
No, I think the natural logical progression would be to open a new tier throttled, see how much comes in. Wait, the first month that people aren't fulfilling like the maximum, then you can uncap it or think about or raise it or uncap it. And then once you see a new steady state form for the following weeks or months, then you open up the next tier. Then you open up 75 throttled.
Yep.
Or 50 extremely throttled.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how they do that, how they unwind all that. I'm hoping, like, as I mentioned, if they stop taking in cards tomorrow, they can definitely finish the backlog before the end of the year. I hope they don't over prioritize opening up new tiers and push out like catching up on the backlog. And I'm not saying bring the backlog to 0. If they bring the backlog down to like 1 million cards, that's only a month if they're grading 10 to 12 million a year. I think that's a reasonable place to be. Get it to where Express and above, same day, next day, whatever. You spend $100 regular, you're getting it within a week or two, and then let the bulk be 1 to 3 months like it used to be years ago.
Oh, we're never going to see bulk be 1 to 3 months.
If they scale to 20 million cards, and if they prioritize the backlog and keep the prices high, we could be there as soon as the end of next year. I don't think we will be, because I think they're going to too aggressively open up the lower tiers. I hope they don't, though. They're just, right now, what's happening, again, 80% of their capacity is servicing the backlog at less than $10 a card, which is insane, because they have 4,000 cards a day coming in at $150 a card. They're throttling around 4,000 more a day at $100 a card. And then they're doing 32,000 a day at $10 a piece or less, which is just, it's so silly. It's so crazy. If they didn't let the backlog build that big, they could just be getting 150 a card for a couple thousand of them, 100 a card on down. They could have that whole backlog going through or they could have all those same cards going through at 25 a card or something. They could be getting twice the daily revenue if they had just not allowed and things were probably complex because they were buying it out from the shareholders and certain things were probably on freeze. They couldn't just change everything the day that they bought it, or change everything before they finished the sale of it from the other side. Again, it's just crazy, crazy times. 20 million cards a year, though. I don't believe they'll fully get there, but today they're at 10 million card a year pace. That's a lot of plastic. I don't know that 5 years from now, are 50 million new PSA slabs going to be gobbled up? That's a lot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's more than they've graded in their first 30 years. To date, they've graded around 40 million. In the next 4 years, they're on pace to pump out 40 to 80 million, depending on what you believe. Crazy.
Yeah.
And then,
no,
that's PSA. How many? I can't wait till we see the CGC POP reports.
If we ever see it at this point.
Yeah, kind of pivoting into our next thing, we could start talking about CGC. They still don't have a POP report. They still claim, I think, that it's going to be soon. What soon with air quotes means, no idea. Hopefully early next year. I know that once it comes out, I'm gonna do a dive. There's gonna be a lot of people doing dives into it for various reasons, but some of the most interesting stuff to me is, what is their capacity? If it's updated on a daily basis, you can see every day how many they're grading. And that's strategically a large part of the reason why one doesn't exist, probably. That's very valuable information to put out there, and it's very valuable to competitors, and it's just it's something that you potentially might not want to show, right? If they've built such a big backlog and they're only grading 1,000 or 2,000 cards a day, I can't imagine it's anywhere near that low, but imagine what the image of that would be if they're grading such a small fraction of what PSA is and they've built up the same backlog. It would make them look a little silly, I'm sure. So some of their hesitation to get the back or the pop report out probably has to do with them rather that information being private to an extent. That's a theory.
I don't know though. Maybe I just got lucky with my submission, but I recently got back that big bulk submission that I sent off in April, and I wasn't expecting to see that for until next year at some point. So I think they're actually doing a pretty decent job about getting stuff graded relatively quickly. Or maybe they just like me and I got lucky.
Our the problem is our expectations are just so low.
Yeah.
You're saying that, oh, it was fast. You sent them in April. Like that's what we've been conditioned into deeming acceptable. It's sad. I don't even know what I still have at CGC. I'm looking at my spreadsheet that I haven't updated in so long. I have no idea what's out there, how many are left.
Do you know if you got your big submission back?
I was shocked you got that all at once, 1,700 cards, because PSA's limit is 400 per order, I believe, and CGC's is 500. So when I think I sent 1,000 cards to Ludkins at one point. I believe they split it into two. I think I got like two different codes for that, and I wouldn't expect them to come back together, but maybe they will.
I wasn't expecting that either. It was a lot of heavy boxes.
Yeah. I might have most of my CGC back. I don't even know.
That is the one thing I really don't like about Ludkins. Is there like the inventory tracking? It's so hard to even know what those codes mean.
Yeah. Yeah, because I had so many too, and it was like, well, it was my initials and part of my name, but one of them had my first initial, the other one was just last name, and I couldn't even tell what was CGC, what was PSA. And then I had a couple small ones that got the more generic codes that people would be more familiar with, probably. 229P13. I don't know what that was or is, but yeah, I don't know. Long term, like I've been thinking about it a lot more the past few weeks. What am I going to do? My intent was to just keep feeding the backlog a couple hundred cards every month or so. I don't know.
When was the last? Have you submitted any cards recently?
I sent 200, I think, to CGC, some hidden fates.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned that.
I did a video on it. Like most of my send-offs were pre-March. Most of my stuff predated my channel, so there aren't like send-off videos for most of my stuff that's out there. Aside from I did one express order. I think I've only done one CGC bulk since like March, and it was 200 cards. And if I could call it back today and take it back, I'd have to look back at the video. I don't even remember what's out there. I'd probably just take it back and send them to Troll and Toad and sell them, because prices are really, combined with how hard they grade. And if a lot of them turn out to be 8.5s, I'm looking at some cards that I've got today, over 1,000 card backlog of like what I need to list. So many of them I would have been better off selling raw several months ago through Troll and Toad. Not all of them, but a decent amount. Or I should have sent them to PSA because they would have been PSA 9s and they would have done a bit better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm at a weird place. I'm happy that I have so much out, generally speaking, but when it comes to what I regret most is a lot of it's the CGC stuff, just because what I was accustomed to just chucking out at PSA, and I'd get 50% 10s and 40% 9s and 10% less. I'm getting 2 CGC 9.5s out of 500 with no 10s, 30% 9s, 45% 8.5s, like just and like getting back to the pop report. When the pop report comes out, like I sent Bumblebee Pikachu. Is that 27?
27, yeah.
27. So I sent 200 to PSA, 200 to CGC. The 200 I got back from CGC. That card was like minty fresh. I had 1,000 or 600 of them, I think, minty fresh. So I did well. I did 10%, 15%, 9.5s, 1% CGC 10s, maybe 60% 9s, and then the rest 8.5s. With PSA, I'm fully expecting that to be 60% 10s, 40% 9s, something like that. Those cards were clean.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the bell curve of that distribution, when the pop report comes out, look at a card like Bumblebee Pikachu. Look at a card like this one. When the gem rate on this one is like 70% PSA 10s, the average grade is 10. I mean, it's 9.5, whatever. At CGC, it's going to be really interesting to see where that bell curve centers and where that lands. And you'll be able to do that with the pop report. So you won't necessarily get, well, PSA 10 equals CGC 9.2, but to an extent, you'll have that comparison. You'll have a way to feel out roughly the approximation.
Yeah. That'll I'm looking forward to that whenever that comes around.
I'm so excited for that. That's going to be the first thing I do. 1, capacity, and then 2, do some nice charts with the nice overlay, the bell curves.
Yep. Yeah, that'll be good. And then I'm starting to feel the same way about CGC as you have. I did that big submission back in April. I did a 200 or 300 card submission in July, and then I did another 200 or 300 card submission in September. But everything else, I've just been kind of holding and waiting. I've been debating on doing another like modern CGC submission, but kind of just holding off on that as well, because with the bulk submission that I got back, the stuff that I've listed on eBay already, it's been selling, but it's been selling slowly, and the pricing isn't nearly what the PSA pricing is. Even if you do like PSA 9 compared to CGC 9, it's a dramatically lower.
It's weird. Some of them, they're pretty close, but some of them, they are dramatically lower. And I think that's just to do with the fact that the CGC ones turned around quicker and the PSA ones are yet to unwind. Like the Illustrator Charizard, for example. I think I just saw it on Instagram today. They graded over 1,000 of those in one day or 1 week. So the population, PSA 10 population of Illustrator Charizards went up by 1,000. Probably a week. It was probably a week. But
I could even see it being a day, because I sent 50 or 100 of those off to CGC.
I think I sent 50 to each. So yeah, with like this card, like the PSA 9 of this card versus the CGC 9, well, the CGC ones turned around quicker, so they've gotten out there quicker. And I mean, this one, the PSA 10 pop of that is just to the moon. but it still blows my mind. It's a $10 card. I paid $7.50 to grade it, and I'm still able to sell it for like 50 or 60 bucks. Like I still did well. I'm still glad I sent them. Even the 9s, I think, are going for 35 or so. They shouldn't be going that high, I don't think, because that card might end up with 50,000 PSA 10s. And maybe it's always, I don't know, maybe there's a floor on a PSA 10 Charizard. It's never going to go below 50 bucks. But when you can buy it sealed for 10, I just don't get why people are so enamored with the case that they want to pay. With low numbers, it's probably more fine to pay a $40 premium to just get the 10 and not have to wait the year backlog. But with some of these cards, WotC non-hollows, what have I got? Should have something right here. These have come down quite a bit, but I think this card peaked at like a few $100s last year. I think this is still a $100 card, and it really shouldn't be. I'll sell it to you for 100. Click my link below. click Nick's link if you're on his page. We'll get the affiliate dollars. He'll get the affiliate dollars, and I'll get the $100.
There we go. There we go.
I think those are going to continue down. Maybe these ones are at a floor, but I could maybe see them continuing on down to 30 or 40 bucks. If they go that low at some point, I'll probably sit on them and stop selling them. I'll probably wait for them to pop back up to 50, and maybe they never will. Who knows? But by that time, I will have sold enough of them from 200 on down to 50 that I've paid for all mine anyways.
I really can't see those going much lower than 40, 50 bucks. For a 10 Charizard, that seems like a pretty easy purchase to me.
It's an easy sale for me. It's weird. When you're talking that low, because that's like you can spend that at the bar on I was gonna say on a round, but like depending on which bar you're at, it's not even a round for the boys. A hand of blackjack, not even. It is that weird price point where people are just willing to just throw away 50 bucks on nothing, myself included. A fancy dinner, or at least this you're getting something, right? I mean, you go eat a $100 steak and it's gone the next day, and you don't have something to hold on to and look at a year later.
And then when you think about your cost basis, you're really not making a ton of money once you factor out everything: your eBay fees, the shipping, cost of the card, grading. You're doubling your money on it.
It's a pretty good margin.
That's what you look to do in business anyway, is double your money on purchases.
Yeah.
So it's nothing. It's not anything more out of the ordinary than anything else.
Oh yeah, like I'd probably rather buy this at 50. I'd rather have two of those than one of. I grabbed a different card. than one of these.
Yeah.
But it is weird. I don't know. I'm trying to pull up. Yeah, Charizard V. There's 10,000. So this card that I have 11 of that you can see, and maybe 100 more that you can't see. 10,559 PSA 10s. 60%. That's 60% of the total pop is PSA 10. 17,000 graded. 10,500 PSA 10s.
That's crazy.
And it came out last year.
Yeah. Was it last
2020? The end of 2020.
That's right. Yeah. The end of 2020. Yeah.
Just over a year ago, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was dropping. That I remember that was dropping around when my.
No,
my
I think it was.
No, it was September 2020 because that was dropping around when my daughter was born.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Crazy. So we
Yeah,
started talking about
it's-
CGC, and then we really went towards the POP report. We didn't touch on they're grading new
the new
TCGs.
TCGs,
Yeah,
and they're still not grading Yu-Gi-Oh.
it's funny. I don't do Yu-Gi-Oh at all. I've probably got a handful of the cards kicking around from collection buys over the years, but MetaZoo hype.
I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll be so like I was probably most excited about Harry Potter. Them grading the Harry Potter cards because right now I've looked into that a little bit. Like Harry Potter sealed product is on fire. Obviously it's come down like everything, but sealed product does really well. But the actual like individual cards, there's really not much of a market for that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not CGC can kind of create a market for individual cards within the Harry Potter TCG. I think there's it's similar to your MetaZoo NFTs where it's a big gamble, but there also could be a decent upside to it. Is grading some of these actually breaking sealed product and grading some of these cards to go ahead and resell where there really isn't much of a market right now. You'd kind of be at the ground floor of that.
Yeah, it's like 11 new TCGs, I think,
Yeah.
right? I
Yep.
don't even know. I know MetaZoo was one of them. I think Final Fantasy, Harry Potter,
It was a lot of no name that I'd never heard of.
Weiss, I think was one of them.
Yeah, Weiss was one of them.
I think they did My Hero Academia too. That those booster boxes that I bought randomly that I don't know
Now's
why
your
I
chance.
did.
Open them up.
Yeah. I'm not too excited about any of them.
Not
I
even
joke
Harry Potter.
I jokingly say MetaZoo. Like I don't know that I'm actually gonna send any MetaZoo there. I guess once I get my 1 out of 100 gold Mothman and things like that from my NFT ownership, those will probably be worth. Some of them will be worth expressing to PSA or regular to PSA for $100 a piece. Some of them might end up with CGC. I don't know. So Digimon, Dragon Ball Super, Final Fantasy, Fire Emblem Cipher,
I'd never heard of that one.
Flesh and Blood, Force of Will, Harry Potter, MetaZoo, My Hero Academia, Weiss Schwartz, World of Warcraft is another one. Yeah, nothing I'm really into. I know Swami, he's into the Marvel stuff. His line of thinking is that they're delaying the Marvel because they're going to kind of dominate that market naturally anyways because of all the comic book stuff. So they're just being patient with that, knowing that once they step into it, they'll take it over. Whereas with these other new ones, they want to be as quick as possible to just get that early market share, which I mean, there's logic there to follow from a business perspective.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, but yeah, I don't know how that'll go over because it's like most of those you really don't hear. I don't follow those much at all, but you really don't hear much of people like collecting the individual cards and like building sets and stuff like that. But maybe it was just because they weren't able to grade the cards. Maybe now that they're able to grade the cards, be a whole new market.
Yeah. Yeah, people love the plastic, so maybe it'll just be all those to the moon. No idea though.
I will say I do have some Harry Potter boxes coming my way that I am going to try and open and grade some of the cards. Which what was that?
Are you gonna try a video?
I am gonna do a video on it.
Nice.
I gotta learn more about the game because right now I don't know anything about the cards, so I might be submitting all energy cards thinking they're good.
I love the books. I should have read more than I did growing up. I should read more than I do now. But those books, I remember in high school, I read a lot of them. And then I think I left off at maybe book 5. I just took like a several year break and I revisited them in college. And I remember in college on random like nights that I had class early the next morning, I was just deep into a book and I would read until like 4 a.m. sometimes when I had an 8 a.m. class the next day because I just needed to it was such a good read. I loved those books.
They were so good.
And then the movies, I'm not one who, that's not consistent with the book. This is awful, terrible garbage. Like I enjoyed them for what they were. I like the books a lot better, but the movies were really good too. I really loved that franchise. So that's just another one on my list. I think I have one of every box sealed. I picked them up thankfully before they got really out of control. I sold a couple that I had duplicates of in the Mania, but I think I still have a complete set. It would be cool to open some of that. My wife would maybe get into that a little bit, or she'd at least think they were cooler than Pokemon cards because she likes the books and movies too. So yeah, I'll be on the lookout for that video. Maybe I'll get my wife to watch it with me.
There we go. Bust out the popcorn.
Yeah.
But no, we'll see what happens there. That'll be that. I'm curious about that. That'll be interesting for sure. But I was definitely surprised getting back into the new TCGs that CGC is grading. I was surprised that they didn't include Yu-Gi-Oh! Because they had announced back in March or April that they were going to be grading Yu-Gi-Oh! Soon. And then now we're in December. They just announced they're going to be grading all these new TCGs, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Is still not being graded.
And I think the reason they gave for it is fair. They mentioned it's supply chain issues, different holder, different size card. So one commonality between all the TCGs that I just listed, they're all Pokemon Magic sized. So they just work with the holders they have.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Might take extra expertise too. I have no idea. This is just a guess, but what I've heard is there's just a million reprints and variants of everything. So like, I mean, Pokemon has some amount of reprints. You've got the base set Charizard, base set 2.
That's been reprinted a few times.
Yeah, you've got first edition Shadowless base, 4th print. Then you've got Legendary Collection. You've got a lot of variants of that same art, but they stand out pretty well. There's pretty easy to identify differences between them. Whereas Yu-Gi-Oh!, I think Blue Eyes White Dragon has been printed 100 different ways, and some of them are really subtle differences as far as I understand. Maybe that's part of it to some extent. Maybe that's just completely wrong. I have no idea.
I've actually been thinking about getting into like branching out a little bit and start getting into Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. Because I originally thought about branching out and just like thinking about what else I can branch out to. And as far as cards go, my first thought was Magic because I really like the artwork on Magic, but I think there's way too much competition with Magic as far as other people selling them. And then I thought Digimon, or I'm sorry, Dragon Ball. But I really have no interest in that stuff. So that was out the window. And then I thought Yu-Gi-Oh! Too, because I really did enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! After Pokemon fizzled out back in the day in the 90s. I got big into Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think that would be kind of cool to get back into that and start learning that again. So that I'm thinking that's going to be one of my goals for 2022 is to start researching that a bit and start dabbling in that a little bit more.
Is that going to be more as a collector or more as a business?
No, that's just a business. Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Like, I've been slowly picking up a little bit of alpha and beta magic.
Mhm.
So I never got into it myself, but I have vague memories of when I was younger. Some of my older cousins played it. And I remember seeing some of the cards, like this one specifically. I don't even know how to say it. Obscenus Golem.
Whoops.
This one specifically, I saw it on PWCC last month, I think. CGC 9, which I know to be a really strong grade. It's only an uncommon, but it's alpha. This one stood out to me. I remembered this art. I don't know if they played the game or if they just collected the cards, but there's a few random arts that really stand out to me. And then like just the history of it. I could see myself getting into a few other TCGs more as a collector, but I'm really trying to restrict myself to Pokemon and then a little bit of MetaZoo because I already can't keep up.
Yeah.
MetaZoo, it's really tough because I'm buying everything at retail, which it's hard enough at certain times to make money buying things wholesale. Right now with Pokemon, I mean, buy Battle Styles wholesale and try to make money on it. Jake actually reached out to me earlier today or late yesterday. I think it was late last night. He bought some, very few, just a couple, I think. But I think he was able to get Chilling Reign booster boxes after incentives, like after credit card rebates, after eBay bucks, $73 a box shipped to his door.
God.
I said, I can call up my distributor and get all I want at $86.50 a box. How much do you want? It's crazy. Like he's paying, all said and done, he's paying $13-14 less a box. And I hadn't really looked at it in quite a while. I might have to order several cases if I can get them in the 70 to 75 range. And just send in the Troll and Toad to sit on them for a while, because that's better than my distributor pricing by a wide margin, and it's crazy.
Yeah, that really is. I'm glad that it's happening. We've talked about that before, but I cannot wait to get back into opening packs and selling singles. I'm looking forward to that. That's definitely going to happen with Brilliant Stars whenever that set comes out. I don't care if those boxes are going for $10,000 a piece at release.
I still haven't opened and put together my own personal set for Evolving Skies or Fusion Strike. I want to at some point, but I don't see myself opening Modern to sell like that for quite some time, if ever again. It's just maybe, I guess someday when I get caught up more, but I'm just several months from there.
In the meantime, you know who to buy all your singles from to fill your binder.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good length right there. We're like an hour 40 minutes.
Not too bad.
Might be the shortest one of the shorter episodes that we've had recently.
Yeah, after a 3-hour live last night, I think it's fair to dial it back a little bit.
They almost have 5 hours worth of content of listening to us.
And we've got to be sharp for tomorrow night's PWCC if we want to grab some deals, maybe.
That is true. I did find who commented that in our chat last night. It might have been the Zard Hunter. That's if it wasn't, sorry, but Someone mentioned to me that there was a no damage Ninetales in PWCC, and it's a I didn't know about it because I didn't look at PWCC before that, but after we did that live stream last night, I looked at that, and it's a PSA 4. So I'm gonna be definitely be bidding on that one, but aside from that, we'll see what happens.
They call it.
I will be curious to see what happens to the scroll that someone has listed on there.
They call it the missing attack Ninetales.
Yeah.
What the hell's wrong with PSA? I searched no damage and it didn't come up, and I just searched PSA 4 Ninetales. Missing attack hollow. How would you have known that there was a no damage?
Exactly.
Yeah, I've got some pretty decent things going back to my stuffing my real investment accounts. I'm shedding some Pokemon that didn't get beat up too bad. Last month's PWCC, a PSA 9 set a new all-time high, I believe, at 15,000 or somewhere in there, 15, 16,000. Unfortunately, there are two. I'm not the only one who had the same idea to get rid of their 9 scroll. So I'm up against another, and I actually sent my spare PSA 10 Melly Pikachu. Art Academies haven't really felt the crunch at all. They haven't really dipped, as far as I can tell, during the crash correction, whatever you want to call it. So I figured I'd downsize a couple bigger cards, and then I've got miscellaneous, I wouldn't call it junk, but lower tier stuff too. I figure that'll be my deposit into my 401k and IRAs right there.
There we go. Or you could just gamble that money on more MetaZoo NFTs. Go for set number 2 now.
Remortgage my house, drain my 401k, build 10 sets.
There we go. No, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the scroll there. We were looking at them both in our Patreon, and they're both similar 9s. They're like the condition wise. One isn't better than the other, so it'll be interesting to see where they both end up.
Yeah, they're both at 77.50 right now.
Maybe they'll sell for the exact same price. That'd be pretty cool.
Hopefully they both sell for 25, 50.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm sure it'll probably pull back from the last one, given that they're in such quick succession. As far as trophies, the wrong word, but as far as like a higher tier promo goes, and then 2 at once, it just, yeah. In a perfect world, I would have been the only one to send, or whoever sent the other one, they wish I hadn't sent mine. But it's already at more than double what I paid for it. So whatever it does, I'm happy with. I like the card, but it's a lot of money too for what it is.
Oh, definitely.
I don't think I'll necessarily be able to replace it for cheaper down the line, but maybe I can. And if I don't, I'm comfortable never owning it again. There's a lot of other stuff I'd love to own someday. And if that's me done with my ownership of Master Scrolls ever, I owned a 10 and I owned a 9 at one point. So on to the next one.
Now you got to go down to an 8.
Yeah. Do the full countdown.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's all I got for tonight.
Me too.
It's been as always, it's been fun chatting with you.
Here's to the next 20.
Yes, exactly. And we got we do have one more for next year, so
yep. We'll sneak one in between Christmas and New Year's, and then episode 26 should be the big anniversary one, right?
Oh, I didn't even think of that. When did I gotta go back and see when we started these.
I don't think we've ever missed the 2 weeks, have we?
So, yeah, that's how you could figure it out. Yeah.
It should be right on.
No, you know what? We did miss one. when I went on vacation over the summer.
I think we did one. I'll have to look back at our upload dates. I think we
Yeah.
did one
Oh,
week
you know what? We
apart.
made up for it because yeah, that's right.
So I think
So
we
yeah,
had a
no, we're
1 week
still
gap and then a 3 week gap.
yeah.
I can actually scroll back here in our notes. So the first upload date was March 26th.
Okay.
I think we initially started on a Friday because of my extremely we recorded it on a Wednesday, but then my extremely slow upload speeds, plus the fact that I had a job still, took me more than a day to turn it around.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about it for a while too, before we actually started the first episode.
Yeah,
We spent a while talking about it, but yeah, got our 1 year anniversary coming up.
26 will be exciting.
We'll have to have a big special.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for watching. For those of you who stuck around to the end, and be sure to leave your questions down in the comments below. Pick out a good one that we can actually debate and get into an argument over and end the podcast forever over.
Try to break us up before the 1 year.
Yeah.
But yeah, and check out those giveaway videos. We had one question tonight from Shiny Light Bulb, who won one of mine last week. So it's good to see some of the regulars getting some free product shipped out your way. We've appreciated all your support through these 20 episodes, and definitely growing a sense of community with a lot of the same names popping up. Had a lot of good chats.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we will catch you all later.
Have a good one.